Well, I think it's fair to argue that there definitely is a political and geopolitical realignment happening right now, sort of like a new world order. As we are out with the old and in with the new world order that Donald Trump is now building. But to build anything, you must destroy the old. And is that exactly what is happening right now with the larger geopolitical big maneuvers being made by this administration, especially what looks like a larger trade war, where now we are at a battle of words between China and the United States. As we had Peak Headset announce, we're prepared to go to war. The Chinese responded, wow, let's go. And that's essentially where we are at. As I would argue now that China is setting up a very interesting situation for the world to deal with that truly might potentially lead us into a Thucydides trap. As I want to focus in this particular video, the larger kind of realignment, the larger kind of shift that's happening right now, as it's clearer by the day, the Democratic political party is the party of the globalist, the party of the old world order, as they were heavily invested in it. They were corrupt. They were taking cutbacks. They were the ones that were part of this old system that literally just used to take our own money and on the backs of the American taxpayer and the future of this country by printing money, borrowing money. We would flood the entire world market with U.S. dollars. And then we would say, hey, you're going to use these U.S. dollars. We would have deals with countries like Saudi Arabia with the petrodollar saying, you know what, you're going to trade with anything, you're going to trade with the dollar. Nothing else will be used and utilized here. In exchange, Saudi Arabia will buy up a lot of your stuff. We'll allow you to do whatever you want. That deal was officially brokered by Henry Kissinger, also the guy that brokered the deal that opened up China to the rest of the world, as now there are a lot of people coming forward and saying that China kind of stabbed the globalists in their back, as China was supposed to be the perfect country for them to utilize and practice all of their larger kind of policies in. That's why they implemented a one-child policy in China, which absolutely devastated the country to the point where even now to this day, the Chinese are having a very difficult time having their population reproduced. Their reproduction levels aren't good, and there are full-on government incentives and programs in play right now that incentivize the Chinese people to have as many children as possible, as they are dealing with a significant population crash, just like the rest of the Western world is. Now, China, according to the people that I've kind of been talking to, isn't playing ball with the old world order. They're trying to create a new world order where they are in charge. And when you look at the old kind of American foreign policy, especially under Joe Biden, they were the ones kind of aiding and abetting their rise. Any kind of leftist, more communistic-centered governments that were more open towards working with the Chinese were supported, were funded, were financed, had the games rigged in their countries undemocratically. Countries like Poland, countries like Brazil that had direct U.S. involvement that specifically went out of their way to go against the right-wing populist, more Republican, Trump, New World Order aligned individuals, and they would support, of course, this old world order of supporting the Chi-Coms, the Chinese, the leftists with their larger kind of open trade policies, but more importantly also with their totalitarian policies. This new world order, and I'm saying that not just in the conspiracy sense, but in the sense of actually it being a new world order, is a little bit different here, as we are seeing a full-on major fight rage between Donald Trump, the new guard, and the old guard. As right now, even the Supreme Court that is heavily Republican, just dissented against him and decided to unfreeze the $2 billion in foreign aid payments and allow them to actually go through when Donald Trump wanted to cut them off, highlighting how that's how the old system used to run here. Donald Trump doesn't want to go along with this old system. He wants to create his new system, his own system. And I think he understands the old system just needs to be broken. And some people are arguing right now that is exactly what he is doing by specifically launching the larger kind of trade war that is creating a lot of economic instability right now. As he has declared that there's going to be a trade war against China, against Mexico, against Canada, the 51st state of the United States. Now, China is the most significant here, as, of course, the Chinese economy is dependent on the American economy. The American economy is dependent on the Chinese economy. We are very interlinked. We are very interwoven. And if you remember from all of my videos throughout the years, I have talked about this larger kind of bigger problem at play here, as we are very dependent on a lot of key pieces of our economy that is solely dependent on China. With these larger kind of tariffs and trade wars that could potentially happen, this could surely escalate very quickly and create a situation where it will not be advantageous for everyone, because it threatens the economic viability of our current system. But there might be a deliberate ploy here to reshuffle the chairs on the deck here, to change things up here as best as Donald Trump can, because he understands that the play before was to weaken America, destroy America, and to allow China to rise up as the next global geopolitical power. Donald Trump looks like he is interrupting that plan. And before playing the video from the Defense Secretary of the United States saying that the United States is prepared to go to war with China over tariffs, we wanted to tell you about thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We just launched a really cool t-shirt that I saw that was awesome, that we kind of masterminded here, that says FAFO with these particular timestamp and dates here of the kind of current situation we are all in right now, which is pretty entertaining, as there's a lot of major changes. Some people are saying we are in sort of a renaissance, and I would agree. Celebrate that renaissance. Celebrate and give yourself the gift of having a political opinion that cannot be censored anywhere by going to thebestpoliticalshirts.com, where you can get shirts like the one I'm wearing right now that reads, defund the ATF, and make it a storefront. A lot of people always are like, oh yeah, good shirt, I like it. And I'm like, hey man, cool, thanks. Hey, what's your name? Oh, you're also in the community here? Oh, yeah, we should, hey, yeah, we should set up a barbecue. We should set up some kind of a community here, as this is a great way to get to know other people. If you're ever on something like a cruise ship, getting one of these shirts is quickest, easiest way to break the ice with a lot of people, and truly a really fun thing to kind of take part in when you start to fully express yourself and you stop giving a damn what everyone else thinks about you. Living your life totally free feels freaking great. And not having to self-censor, that's one of the most important, best pieces of advice that I would advocate for everyone. As our defense secretary had this to say about the very kind of tumultuous, order-shifting magnitude of change happening right now around the globe with Donald Trump's policies, that I think would be perfectly explained by my thesis here, that he is fomenting and creating this new world order.
As the speech wrapped up last night, this was posted by the Chinese embassy. Quote, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. As Secretary of Defense, how do you take that?
Well, we're prepared. Those who long for peace must prepare for war. That's why we're rebuilding our military. That's why we're reestablishing deterrence and the warrior ethos.
And this is why we also saw Donald Trump during his address to Congress talk about how the United States will be now incentivizing companies to manufacture and create boats here. The Chinese, really great at manufacturing because of Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller, by the way, that sent all of our blue-collar jobs over there. But the Chinese could produce boats extremely fast, and it is a superior kind of advantage that they would have if there ever was a larger conflict, especially with the huge ocean between us. The Chinese definitely have a trick up their sleeve with their possibilities of creating so many boats so quickly that could be used for military purposes. The United States does not have those capabilities, but Donald Trump addressed this need last night and is saying that he's going to be doing a lot of efforts to, of course, create a situation where we are ready to make and manufacture boats in a very quick and expedited time.
Because we live in a dangerous world with powerful, ascendant countries with very different ideologies. You mentioned defense spending. They're rapidly increasing their defense spending, modern technology. They want to supplant the United States. If we want to deter war with the Chinese or others, we have to be strong. And that president understands peace comes through strength. He also has a great relationship with that gentleman right there, too, Xi Jinping. So where we can partner, where we can cooperate to recognize that we don't want war with China, we don't seek that war, we will. And the president has sought historic peace and historic opportunities. But my job as the Secretary of Defense is to make sure we're ready. We need the defense spending, the capabilities, the weapons, and the posture in the Indo-Pacific, which is something we're very much focused on.
Are we ready when most of our antibiotics are produced and still bought from China? I don't think so. As again, this message from the Chinese embassy to the United States is a pretty big one, specifically with them responding to the tariffs that Donald Trump is now threatening against them. And again, Donald Trump looks like he's kind of dipping his toe into kind of seeing how the markets will respond here. He has a very kind of careful battle to play out here, especially financially, with the bigger ramifications that could cost him a lot of significant leverage when it comes to the financial success of the United States. As we're learning that Canada and the United States are in very tough negotiations, tough talks right now. So, of course, is Europe. Europe is now openly saying, hey, we got to figure out how we could move forward without the United States here, as Europe also is globally shifting and changing, as the United States has also said that they're going to be tariffing European goods coming into the United States. A 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, a lot of people say, will be a big blow to the larger economies here, as we are finding out that Trump just announced a 1-month delay to these tariffs for cars, as car manufacturing also has been significantly affected by all of this. Now, throughout any kind of change, there's always going to be a lot of turmoil, a lot of markets that are going to need time to react here, as the United States seriously needs to consider manufacturing. Now, will they ever have the manufacturing base of China? I think that's going to be a very huge uphill battle, especially with our spoiled population. And China also has their own difficulties with the middle class exploding in China, creating a kind of less beneficial society for building and manufacturing. Now, a lot of problems out there, but I think it's fair to assume here that Donald Trump is definitely wheeling and dealing. He's trying to figure things out. He's playing around with the global financial markets, as he has also specifically been leveraging a lot of tough talk here in order to get his way here. I think what he's trying to do is realign this old world order where the United States would just buy people off, throw money into the markets, and pay it with the future of the American people at stake here, especially with the huge hyperinflation threats that we were facing here almost every single day. I think Trump is realizing that old guard cannot continue, because it is leading the United States to be downgraded in not only its world standing, but also in its resources and capabilities, as the Chinese have implemented a new kind of strategy here. And that's why seeing what Trump is trying to kind of achieve here, what he's trying to kind of play around here, I think the larger perspective here that a lot of people that study this and look into this and have been in this world for a very long time is to understand that China is the emerging world power. How did they get there? Through trade. Trade that, of course, allows them to have the raw earth minerals. Trade that allows them to have key pieces of infrastructure, to have great kind of control of the trade routes, to have larger relations with governments that they get to work with, specifically getting the things they need to get into their country in order to build and sell it to the rest of the world. Their Belt and Road kind of initiative, their Silk Road sort of initiative, is an initiative that, of course, not only increases global trade, but it allows China to be at the epicenter of manufacturing, of resource building, of relations building, doing it through a perspective and a way that actually is sort of advantageous for all the parties involved here. You look at American foreign policy, it's like, hey, we'll throw money here. Now we're going to spend more money blowing places up because they're not playing along the rules. They're not going with the dollar. And then we're going to pay more money to rebuild what we destroyed afterwards. And we're going to create more dangerous terrorists in response to that kind of stick kind of foreign policy isn't really advantageous. And essentially, a lot of people have seen the United States as a lesser country that they don't want to do business with, because they understand, hey, if we have resources, they're just going to invade it. and destroy us from within. I think the United States also made a very big, grave mistake, specifically allowing a lot of the globalists that have no kind of allegiance to the United States to have a lot of control of the resources that they would come in and bomb countries with, and then these kind of international cabals would come in. These international cabals, these kind of globalists, the Bill Gates types, they don't give a damn about America. They don't care about our heritage, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. They literally go over to China and start doing business with them. And you look at a lot of kind of Western billionaires, they have a lot of business in China for some very strange reason. And I think Donald Trump is looking at what China's doing and saying, hey, they're getting more powerful. We're getting less powerful. We're screwed financially. China's kind of screwed too. Some people argue that they are a paper dragon. Some people argue that they're a real dragon. Whatever you might think about them, they're definitely strategically making a lot of very deliberate moves here, preparing for essentially them being the number one global hegemonic power. They're preparing for them being the supreme top dog here. Historically, whenever that happens, it's this Thucydides trap. Whenever you have a rising power challenging an existing power, historically, there's always war. Whether it's the Portuguese and the Spanish and the French and the British and the Americans, it's always the same kind of story, the same kind of endeavor that we have seen. Now, I think we are seeing an endeavor where the previous old guard, the old world order, was kind of pushing for this larger change. When this change happens, danger occurs here. The only way to prevent this danger, and I think Donald Trump understands this, is to have America not even be in competition with China, to beat out China on the global world markets, be a lot more stronger so China can't even challenge them. And then when China can't challenge them for that number one hegemonic spot, the likelihood of war ends there, because then there's no need for war. There's no need to wipe out your competition, especially on the global world stage. We also enter a very dangerous time period when that happens. What will unfold? What will happen here? Well, it's definitely not boring, especially with this kind of larger trade war, this larger financial uncertainty. The markets hate uncertainty, but I think it's necessary to change things up dramatically in order to have America propel here on the world stage and to increase their kind of influence and power in a diplomatic way. As I would argue, Donald Trump, even though he's kind of brash, even though he's kind of over asking, it's probably a part of the art of the deal, he is representing the carrot. The old guard stick that was absolutely Riri and hitting itself in the head and literally just kind of giving everything they wanted to China. This is different. This is a carrot, a nutritious, healthy carrot that is good for your eyes. So you could see that this is a new presidency. This is a new foreign policy. This is a new geopolitical order that doesn't give a damn about all the other people that were robbing us and taking advantage of us. As we're going to go to countries like Argentina. We'll go to countries that actually respect personal liberty, freedom, are more aligned with us, and of course, want to do some really cool, awesome things. How will that look? Well, I think we're seeing that shift right now. How will it unfold? Let me know down in the comment section below. Get a shirt, thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Seriously, super fun place. If you want to find the shirt that I'm wearing right now, go to the search and type in ATF. Click search. And bada bing, bada boom. It is right here for you guys to get. I got to tell my guy to fix that. Sorry. The shirt should be up in about a few hours from now. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more. All here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.